We have brand new July ADP, so it's time for another version of my Dynasty spin on Guy Fieri's diners, drive-ins, and dives to scour through the ugly parts of Dynasty ADP and find those hidden gems among the muck. So welcome in to another episode of Dynasty Fallers, Fill-ins, and Flyers. First up, we have our faller who once upon a time was being valued as a top 3 Dynasty quarterback and now is sitting at QB 34 in our Superflex ADP, which means there are backups that we prefer more right now than Baker Mayfield. And I get it. I completely get it. He was terrible in Cleveland in 2021, terrible in Carolina at the start of the last year, was not overly terrible with the Rams, and now he's in a quarterback competition for the starting role in Tampa Bay. But prior to 2021, he had 3 straight years of top 20 production on offenses that had a really good run game and really good receivers in Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., really good coaching, which is important because he's done well with Kevin Stefanski and Sean McVay, but did not do well with Matt Rule. And so when we look at the situation in Tampa, I think he has a decent run game. We'll call it just average with Rachaad White and whoever else they end up having. He has really good receivers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, probably the best that he's ever had. And I have a lot of faith and confidence in their new offensive coordinator right now, who spent the last 13 seasons in Seattle, including being their passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach for Russell Wilson and last year's biggest surprise of the season, Geno Smith. And doesn't this situation in Tampa with Baker feel identical to Geno Smith's situation last year? A quarterback that we basically all left for dead has joined a team that just lost their Super Bowl winning future Hall of Fame quarterback. We have absolutely zero hope for the offense, the fantasy weapons there, all of that. This entire situation is identical as it was to Geno last year. Now, I'm not saying that Baker is going to be a top 10 quarterback like Geno was, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was Derek Carr, if he was Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett before Deshaun Watson came back, or bad Broncos Russell Wilson, who was still a top 20 quarterback last year with Nathaniel Hackett. It's well within Baker's range of outcomes that he throws for 3,500 yards, 20 to 25 touchdowns, still throws like 12 or more picks this season, and is a top 20 fantasy quarterback. Again, I'm not here to say that Baker can get to QB1 or even high-end quarterback 2 production, but I do think that he's worth a stash as a throw-in in your next trade, just in case things go well for him in Tampa Bay. Next up is our fill-in, and another really gross name that I'm sure is going to trigger people when I say it, but please bear with me. I like the value that Gabe Davis is starting to become. I was already starting to buy back in over the past couple of months when Davis was in the wide receiver 40s in ADP with guys like Mike Williams, Mike Evans, Kadarius Toney, but now he's wide receiver 51, well behind all of them, plus other guys like Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks, Jonathan Mingo, Romeo Doubs, and just ahead of Juju, Jacoby Myers, Jaden Reed, and Rashee Rice. I am in on these prices because, fun fact, in 15 games played last year, Gabe Davis was the wide receiver 35 in PPR leagues. That's ahead of George Pickens, ahead of Christian Watson, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks, and he averaged the same points per game as DJ Moore. And he did that while being affected by an ankle injury at the start of the 2022 season. So now looking at this Bills offense for 2023, Davis is in almost the exact same situation as he was in last year when we were all hyping him up to be a year 3 breakout, and everything that we loved about Gabe Davis last year, I think still applies to 2023. Sure, they drafted Dalton Kincaid in the first round, and a lot of people are going to be quick to tell you that rookie tight ends don't really produce. Isaiah McKenzie's 65 targets are gone, Devin Singletary's 52 targets are gone, and all they added was Dalton Kincaid and Trent Sherfield. There's a very good chance that Gabe Davis once again is the second target on this team, and if he's healthy and he sees 100, 110, 115 targets as the kind of player that he is, he really could be like a lower level, lighter version of Tyler Lockett-ish kind of producer for fantasy that I'm sure is going to be a weekly roller coaster, but as a flex option for you that could easily drop 20 plus points any given week, you can't find that kind of upside where Gabe Davis is going right now. So I absolutely love the price on Gabe Davis. If you can send like a second round pick or even a couple of thirds or package some other really fun wide receiver with a third, go up and get Gabe Davis. I absolutely love those kind of moves right now because it really does feel like a lot of the Dynasty community, a lot of the people that probably have Gabe Davis in your leagues are really just kind of done with him. And yet 2023 might be his best season yet. And then lastly, we have our flyer, and in the most unexpected of news this offseason, Kadarius Toney is already hurt.
And by unexpected, I mean completely expected.
So now the Chiefs receiving room is MVS, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, and Richie James Jr. And I'll admit, I have a soft spot for Richie James. The dude had some insane production as a freshman and sophomore in college, even though, yes, it was at Middle Tennessee State, but it was insane production nonetheless. I just think that Richie James is a solid wide receiver, and he flashed his talent last year with the New York Giants as a PPR machine over the second half of the season, and he helped win me some money. So maybe that goes in with some of the soft spot for him. But his 17-game pace from weeks 11 through 18 last year was 90 receptions for 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's in a depleted wide receiver room due to injuries, with Daniel Jones throwing him the ball. Now imagine what he can do in a depleted wide receiver room due to injuries with Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball. Now listen, realistically, he's probably one of those players that is just a better NFL player than he is for fantasy. One of those guys who has his role and he plays it really well. Those like Jamal Agnew, Greg Dortch, Braxton Berrios types that are really fun for the degenerates out there like me. When they do score, they do something really, really well, but really isn't making an impact for your dynasty roster. But you can't deny that there is some opportunity here in Kansas City for him to duplicate what he did last year in New York. And if that means scooping him off of waivers for free right now, so you don't have to spend $5, $6, $7 of your fab in 2 months, then I think that that's worth it. Or maybe he is Mahomes' go-to this year for a section of the season with Kadarius Toney injured, Sky Moore's being a bust, Rashee Rice is slowly coming along as a rookie, and now Richie James is Zay Jones. You never know. But hey, if you want to know about 4 other players that Justin believes are going to gain massive value in 2023 and into the 2024 offseason, then you should check out this video right up here.